even 6 months ago. So it's a great industry to be in, but it's also very complicated to sometimes understand what's the best way to go. So whether you're sitting at a sporting, event or anything else, you're still on that device. Great for marketers, right? This is really the piece that we really start to look, how do we make this really effective for our customers? And then good old selfies, all the social media components. 85% of social media users are coming from some sort of mobile device. So you really have to be able to do that, right? We've all been guilty of this, right? Walking without paying attention because we're so connected to our device. And now we've got a solution for that. So ultimately, our goal is to really look and say, what is really happening in this space and how do we take advantage of it? The thing for us is knowing what the growth is. This is the largest growth in advertising medium, at least in my generation, that I've ever experienced. This is what's happening in the markets and how our customers are identifying with our brands and with our marketing campaigns. We know what's really starting to happen with local spending, especially localized ad spending. And what I love about mobile advertising in general is because it's affordable. So all companies can really participate in it. And with geo marketing, I can focus that ad and some of the other pieces that are key. So however that customer finds your business, through social media, through online search engines, all those components really result in how you connect to them with content. And of course, just like Chris was talking about, how that content is relevant to me. So I always want to make sure that anybody who's starting to look at this new technology or trying to understand it, to not get too complicated with all of the techie parts of it, but understand that these are components that we all can use and that are affordable to use. But again, all of the things that we talk about when it comes to geo marketing is still all about content-based information. So videos are obviously great connection points to our brand. All the components, we look at how localized ads and how we engage with our social media, followers or whatever it might be considered, are all key components of how we will identify with a particular ad or a particular brand. So all of these components are very interesting. So I'm going to use a little reference of a project that we did with Visit Florida. Now this is a very simplified version of geo marketing. They knew that one of their biggest customer bases coming to Florida was from New York City, and even maybe specific cities within New York. And so what they really did is say, we're going to do a campaign, a traditional campaign. We're going to stick models and pictures of beaches and palm trees in the middle of JFK and other places, and get people to really engage with our brand as a campaign level. So what that really said is, I understand who my customer is at a base level, and I'm going to attract them because I know it's freezing in New York and it's beautiful in Florida. But how do we take that geo content to the next level? So what they really did is they said, we need to make sure we have a mobile component, a touch screen, and a technology component to this particular campaign. So what they did is they looked at the demographics and the people that were in these particular areas, and they served up ads and information across Pandora, across local TV network apps. They utilized the network that they know that people were using within those marketing segments, allowing us to not only target the customers that were in those areas, but make sure that we're taking that brand and making sure we're identifying the biggest attributes to those brands to our mobile customers. So when people are walking through New York, when they're sitting in a mall, when they're waiting in the doctor's office, that content that comes up is going to attract them to it. Now we can go deeper into that and talk about how we get even more information, how we serve up like particular content, like when you search on brands and then what do you know, you're on Google and the next day those brands happen to pop up on an ad. Of course, that is the technology that's evolved. That's really the key piece of really, unfortunately, a little scary as it is, monitoring how we surf and engage with information. But ultimately, the geo piece of what we really talk about is making sure that we can take an existing campaign and focus it into areas. So, of course, all of these components that I'm talking about are really about creating a real strategy around localizing content. It doesn't mean that content has to be local into your market. It can be international. And I'll reference a couple other campaigns that we've done internationally utilizing geolocation and geofencing and other things that we can talk about, which as far as geo Wi-Fi and those other pieces. So let's dive in a little bit to the techie piece. Chris did a good job explaining what geofencing is. Allows us to take coordinates, map off areas, could be buildings, could be convention centers, could be airports, it can be local stores. And then when I have this app that walks by those locations, I can push content based on where somebody is. That can be very, very powerful. We know that geofencing provides a lot of connection points And that's really what app and mobile is all about. People say, I wanted 5 million downloads on my app. You don't, I mean, of course we'd love 5 million downloads, but how about 500,000 downloads of really focused people that are loyal to your brand? Those are the people that are important, and those are the people that are really affected by geo marketing. So geofencing allows you to obviously take and, whether you have 100 stores or 100 hotels or thousands of hotels, you can push information, how they interact, how they're walking by in those particular areas. Maybe they're in downtown, Old Town Scottsdale, and you want to push information to them because they're 5 feet from your store. So those things can be very powerful. And just know that that information can be easily integrated into any existing app. So there's tools out there that allow you to do this, and then you can, of course, start to manage that campaign like you would manage any other campaign. One of the newer technologies we got involved in with Cisco and Disney is they wanted to not only be able to provide GPS type of geolocation and obviously push notifications, but they also wanted to utilize the ability while they're inside a facility to push something. If I'm walking by a restaurant or a spa, or I'm getting to walk out to the pool, I can actually coordinate by zones within a building, which allows me to identify not only information that might be relevant to someone who's walking out to the pool. Maybe they want a 6-pack of Budweiser. Maybe they want to enjoy a spa in a couple hours, and I'm going to give them 10% off because I know they're just relaxing today. Those are things that are key. It can be huge revenue builders. And the Wi-Fi networks can be just like a geofence, and I can geofence within a building. Now, of course, with the Geo Wi-Fi, the cool thing, and we're seeing this a lot more in casinos and larger venues like this convention center, is they can also monitor patterns, how people move through buildings. And especially if you look at retail, that can be really significant. If I know how people are typically moving, and if I'm guiding people to move through a certain way in my stores, I can start to make sure I identify how those patterns are, and maybe even push information that's relevant to where they stop at a particular rack, or looking at shoes or whatever that might be. So you can get so granular with geo marketing. There's a lot of options to really take advantage of. But just know that this technology is now readily available. And it's something that we can all really start to take advantage of. Now, of course, when we look at how marketing really impacts and utilizing, the geofencing and geolocation pieces of this, it's really simple, right? Now I've got that connection point based on where somebody's located, and I can push information that's relevant to them. I can always get a little more information too, if I'm doing it by maybe city or zip code or anything else, where I can actually identify a demographic and push information based on maybe their income level. So that allows me to identify really how I push information. What's the most important thing? We really look at how we want to engage our customers. The main thing is, if we all get bombarded by information, but if it's relevant information, if it's information I'm really interested in, then it really takes a whole different shape for us. So the geo piece of this is so powerful, and I invite you guys to start looking and doing some research. You can always come to us and look at Moby Manage, and we can definitely look and see how we can help on those pieces. But always consider that there's a lot of options here. There are affordable options. There's ways to really easily step into those, and it really allowing that person to interact with that brand, especially if you're looking at any kind of retail or hotel types of operations. So let's talk about this final piece, which I'm going to rip through this thing real quick. So the final piece is really about advertising in general. As I mentioned, mobile advertising is affordable. It's also fast growing. We also know that the people on mobile devices are more likely to click on an ad than people on a computer. We also know that people that are on mobile devices actually will share information more than they will on a computer. These devices have become social devices. And I think Chris did another good job of talking about the mobile first piece of it, and that all these big companies, Facebook, Yahoo, Google, they're all mobile companies now. And the reason that is because it is that connection point that really allows us to, as marketers, be able to push information to people that is relevant content. And of course now, we can do it by where they're actually sitting and where they're located. So this is one of the programs we did for Cold Stone Creamery. Now, the thing I didn't get into with these slides is really talking about how we connected even international brands. So all of these components, whether it was somebody coming from Japan, whether it was somebody coming from the Philippines, whether it was a US-based person, I can serve up content based on their language type, maybe their preferences. In other words, if I know that Japanese visitors happen to like luxury goods, then I may tailor that information for that particular visitor. So all the things that Cold Stone Creamery tried to do is focused on local stores. If I'm a franchisee, I have 6 Cold Stone Creameries, I'm probably thinking 20% of my business is coming within, I don't know, 5 miles, something like that. So what's going to be the biggest impact? Of course, I want my own social. I want to drive people to my stores. I want to create my neighborhood atmosphere. I want people in my neighborhood coming to my stores. But let's say that I have someone that's a mile away and they're listening to Pandora, and I focus an ad directly to that person. Say they're in Arcadia, and that ad says buy one get one free for all day, or maybe it's a Sunday and kids get ice cream free, and it points them directly to that store, allowing them to connect. Not only, even if I'm not going to take advantage of that, I now go, oh, there's a Cold Stone Creamery around here. Let me see what that's about, right? But also I can serve up information like a call to action, buy one, get one free, send a coupon because maybe they're within a 2-mile radius. And maybe that content is specific to just those people that are within that 2 or 3 mile radius. Of course, the call to business, the ability to share and like, and of course any kind of campaigns or anything that makes sense as far as getting people to enter data is always great. The more information I have on my demographic or on my neighborhoods really helps. Of course, mobile advertising is like anything. You have to really think it through. And sometimes it gets a little bit easier if you're like at a Cold Stone, if you have a store or a proximity of areas. But if you have a much larger area, you just have to think and coordinate those in. And there's plenty of ways to look at analytics, even existing analytics, to put together a really effective geo-based advertising campaign. So the last piece of it just kind of shows you guys what an advertising campaign might be on a mobile type of product. Also, understand that it's not always just about pushing an ad or pushing a coupon. But remember, mobile is about loyalty. Mobile is about engagement, engaging that customer. So it can even be a way to promote the app that you have. With Cold Stone, their Cake Builder app, which is a great little app, was really focused on a growing market for them, which is their ice cream cakes. And we built an app just focused on those pieces. And of course, their goal is to get those people to download that app and use that maybe in their next order or to get information on the ice cream cakes or even to sign up for their birthday club, which is a big part of their loyalty program. But all of these pieces can be geo-focused by store, by location, and really allow you to take advantage of some of the things that are really compelling. So there's a lot of different ways to do pop-ups. There's banner ads, there's pop-ups, there's ways to integrate these things across all of these different types of networks. The networks that we use can be everything from Pandora to Angry Birds to all the huge install bases that you have across these apps, and allow us to push these ads directly to these particular app manufacturers or the people that have really driven a very high download base. So just know that there's a lot of potential here, and there's a lot of technology that's easy to use. Geofencing, geo-Wi-Fi, the ability to use ads in a very geo-effective means is already being used very effectively, giving great calls to action, the ability to map, calendar, notifying of events, all the things that are really relevant. So I know I went pretty quick over everything. If you guys have any questions, feel free to come see me. My information is probably in one of the brochures or something around here. But there's a lot of great information out there. Again, lots of great affordable geo-marketing opportunities. And hope you guys have a great rest of the conference.